released on 30th Century Records, March 3rd, 2017. Now I'm quoting Jason, after taking an extended breather, actually had little to no intention of firing up the Grandaddy machine again until some persuasion and foolhardiness led to a few shows, and then the realization that it sounded pretty okay, and was even most importantly a lot of fun. This album was pretty much a big thank you, and I guess we are back, meant for the fans of the band. Love the title. LP implies finishing last in some sort of race or competition, and playing with the idea of maybe you didn't come out a winner, but you get some sort of accolade for whatever it is you went through. And it also makes me think about reflecting on the final location you were at before a major shift or end of an era. The album cover is cool, and credited to Dan Cronin. Good job, Dan. I love this painting as the backdrop for our little trophy guy dropping the mic. I also love the back where it shows you the setup for the cover. I gotta mention this little soda tab because it's such a small detail but effective at conjuring some stuff. There's like a discarded feeling, but it also puts the idea of like a beer can in my head, and perhaps some drinking took place here. Who's to say? But something so small and ordinary with the right context or placement can do a lot of work. What a great intro. I love the suspenseful buzzing cello plus the vocal fanfare, almost like a little trumpet heralding the return of Grandaddy. Also, including that little groan is such a funny way to set the tone. Guitar sounds great. This is such a fucking Grandaddy hit, instant classic. It's a great way to start off the album and a great way to like return. It's so vibrant and cool and sad. I love that quick switch into the vaguely European accent. But yeah, the upbeatness of the song paired with the heavy, confusing sentiment of feeling dissatisfied with how life is unfolding, but waiting and watching how things play out until the titular line concludes. Yeah, no, this whole thing ain't happening. And punctuated with another groan. And it has a great music video. Pretty solid 1-2 punch here. Another upbeat, colorful song, but with some downtrodden feelings. Our narrator is reflecting on this ended relationship, but ruminating on the memories of when it was working and felt natural and felt the best. It's genuinely a maddening stage to be at, especially if you're with somebody for a long time. Once they're gone, there's like emotional phantom limb feeling, and quite literally, the synapses in your brain that have developed in relation to that person suddenly don't know what to do, and so truly this part of yourself is like dying and emotionally feels like going around in circles and unable to move forward. How do you move beyond the feelings of deeply missing someone without making things worse, you know? That image of the fox being unable to get past the fence is a really nice touch because it fits in well with this overall feeling of feeling stuck and desperate to move forward and just being unable to. If the last two were a 1-2 punch, this one's like an uppercut. Quite possibly my favorite track on this album. Well, I come back to it a lot. It's mournful and dramatic and fun to sing along to. I love that dark, springy digital motif running through the song. I love all the elements that make up this song. The music paints a cool little world or like feeling of being on the run, desperately searching for something in like a barren landscape. And in my mind's eye, I'll intermittently see some kind of green radar screen scanning for something specific and coming up empty. I love the riff and the chorus. Drums sound great, powerful, but my favorite part has to be grieve like a freeway tree, old and gray, no love in your leaves. I love the lyric itself, but I also love how it's sung, that whole section. Ugh, man, it just gets me right here. Yeah, I love listening to this song, and there are a couple of really great live versions that I will link below. This is a slowed down reprise of Brush with the Wild, right? I'm not making shit up. Anyways, the image that gets put in my head with this one is like a micro close-up of a giant red laser erasing data on a CD or drive or something. I don't even know if that's how that works at all, but that's what I see. And that mournful drone is blended so beautifully with this rich, lovely piano. Yeah, it's short and sweet and sad. There is this tension in the music, in the verses, that feels on edge but determined and like matter of fact, or keeping your head down, going through the motions to get something resolved in like a logical way. And I love the dichotomy between the verses and the chorus, because then we get these dreamy, emotional swoons in the chorus, reflecting on this image of the boat in the barn, and you can feel so much love and memories and adventure emanating from the image. And that water skiing part, that's good stuff. And I love the blue, blue, blue echo. I've seen people on the internet refer to this as one of the saddest songs ever, and I agree that it is, and I think part of what makes it so sorrowful is the pining to get beyond the sorrow. Even though the relationship is no longer feasible, the determination to not give up on love and not give in to bitterness and misery is important and worth mentioning. Yeah, it's sad, but also full of hope. The ship might be covered up and on dry land, but it will set sail again. And it has such a gorgeous, melancholic outro.
Duct tape over the temp gauge.
Okay. Whom amongst us hasn't been driving, seen the check engine light come on, and just did absolutely zero about it, and just prayed for it to go away on its own? Super relatable. Perhaps the funnest, silliest song on the album, but also when you realize it's very likely a metaphor for like behavior or possibly how a relationship was handled. Fuck, man. Those Please Keep Goings are equally entertaining, full of character, but also it's a real nail biter. I see a car speeding down a freeway, but all the parts are flying off until all that's left at the end is like a steering wheel. What's also cool is that check engine part, because it kind of sounds like a car ignition trying to start. I love that. It's a great kind of cartoony cautionary tale about not ignoring your problems or else you'll end up shit out of luck on the side of the road. Dang, this one's kind of funny too. What a line. Just cuts right to the chase, and the bluntness and brevity is like the tip of a big frustrated iceberg. Like, there's so much not being said that led to this distillation. It's of course a bummer to feel that way, and I feel for anybody who experiences this, and I don't mean to make light, but there's this whole extra layer of taking the time to write and produce a song about that sentiment. It's a dark comedy that I appreciate. Moving, whether it's to another neighborhood or to another state, is such a pain in the ass. So to get somewhere and immediately say to yourself, I gotta get out of here, is such a fucking nightmare. Sorry, life is trial and error. So while there's disappointment, I also appreciate the honesty and ability to know yourself well enough to know something ain't quite right.
That's what you get for getting out of bed.
This title kind of tricked me, or I feel like the lead was buried a little bit here. Maybe you'll disagree, but when I first read the title, I was like, oh boy, here we go. This is gonna be about being depressed and having a shitty day, and I think I was expecting some sort of misanthropic anthem, when in fact it's not that at all. It's kind of the opposite, actually. It seems to me to be more about getting yourself out of a rut and acknowledging that making an effort was worth the risk. Our narrator was feeling fragile and reluctant to go out and socialize because of the emotional state they're in, but they went out on a limb anyways and are experiencing a moment of relief and gratitude as they've succeeded in, at least briefly, taking their mind off of what was causing them distress. This song's so sweet to me. There's something peaceful and almost timid about the music, and it does a good job of reflecting the sentiment behind the words. It is a humble celebrating of a tiny victory in this really heavy process. And yeah, friends are really an important part of helping you get through something tough. And you gotta consciously tally those little wins when you're going through it.
This
you know?
is the part that shouldn't have been hard.
If any song on this album gets to be described as devastating, it's this one, musically and lyrically. The strings on here are killer. And those sections so beautifully convey the inner turmoil, uphill battle feeling of feeling not okay and almost outside of yourself with grief. Mourning doesn't really happen in a straight line. It can really catch you off guard and throw off whatever balance you think you have. And here our narrator just got thrown by something or some phase of the separation that was like surprisingly emotional and trying to make sense of what's going on. And one second you're fine, and then suddenly you're not fine.
So Jed, he's dead and gone.
Oh, the Jed saga continues and seemingly ends here. Good for Jed. To me, this one is acknowledging we all go through distinct phases and iterations of self, but you really gotta know when to let go of stuff that no longer serves you. You can be a new version of you who makes new choices that aren't self-destructive, and there's only one you, so it's nice to get to a point where you can get to a point and say, I'm gonna take care of myself and treat myself like a friend, and to know deeply and truthfully in your core that that version of yourself doesn't need to be a thing anymore. I think it's wise to commit this sentiment to a song and to close the chapter on Jed. We kind of get two intros here. The first one, how do I explain it, is like a dying machine sputtering out its final words. And intro number 2, I'm pretty nuts about this part because it feels like a very cinematic, like zooming in on an idyllic memory, and it's so nostalgic and tragic and wholesome. I could listen to that part and variations of it for like an hour. Then in the lyrics we hear anticipation for some sort of impending natural disaster. There is this despondent paranoia and imagery about seeking shelter. And some point in the song, there's this intense build-up to bracing for the disaster, and it starts happening all around us in this breakdown. And it feels like the entire bedrock of your life is being disrupted and swept away. And this poor lost machine used to function, but some destructive force of nature has rendered the creation obsolete. It's a pretty epic death march, swan song, and it's a powerful tribute to what once was.
He was a song.
This is a hell of a song, you guys. The guitar is so warm, the vocal delivery is so delicate, it's almost a whisper, and the lyrics have this heartbreaking poetry that is clear enough, you get the sense of what's going on, but cryptic enough that you can still wonder and dream, and you can tell this is an intensely personal one. Message better left unsent. 4 words that have so much weight and power and tragedy, and don't say nothing is such a cool line, because there's like the colloquial intention that translates to don't say anything, but the more it repeats, the more I will sometimes hear the more literal meaning of like say something, and both meanings have an equally like well-intended desperation behind them. That robot chatter argument it kind of hurts to listen to, not in like an intolerable way, in like an all too familiar but also like a blur. Like I know I've been there and recognized the feeling, but I don't remember anything that was said. He kind of knocked it out of the park with this one. You can't listen to the song without taking a giant deep sigh afterwards. Alright, that's it, you guys. Last place. Sometimes exciting and energetic, sometimes somber and melancholic, but pretty much every track is a tender meditation on separation and heartbreak in the modern age, and processing these challenging stages of life. I think the sequence of songs is perfect. Sonically and thematically, it's totally loyal to the world, like fundamental aesthetic of Grandaddy, but I think you still get the sense that the music has, by nature of 11 years and 2 solo records and other projects, the style and sensibilities have evolved and matured. Or what am I trying to say? It sounds like Grandaddy, but feels like a new edition of Grandaddy. So if you enjoy feeling deeply and have a good sense of humor, you might just like Last Place. Then, I don't know, get well soon, I guess. Alright, that's it for today's episode. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.